So we are so thrilled to bring this next guest back to the Rail Talk studio. He's a family member at this point of the Rail Talk team, the Bloodstock manager of Arion Pedigrees, Andrew Stewart. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks very much. Great to be back.
Oh, so glad to have you, and so glad to announce that you guys will be sponsoring the show again in 2025. So shout out to everybody at Arion. If you're not familiar with Arion Pedigrees, it's arion.co.nz. Best pedigree resource in the business, sires, dams, crosses. And Andrew, just before we get into discussing some races, just tell us a little bit about some of the exciting stuff you guys have planned for going into the new year.
Yeah, well, we're doing a completely new relaunch of the website in 2025. The data will be the same, but how you extract it and what you can get from it will be a lot bigger. We're really excited about what it's looking like, and we sort of can't wait to actually. I'm really looking forward to getting to the States and showing it off over there as well.
Yeah, we can't wait to expand to the States. And, if you're unfamiliar, if you watched the show before and you see when we talk about horses and we splash pedigrees pages up on the screen, that's from Arion Pedigrees, and they do an unbelievable job. So we're really, really stoked to have you guys continue the partnership with us. Now let's get to the real topic of the day. Our football teams, they're doing so great. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I think 3% is more than 1%.
Yeah, well, the Bengals are technically still alive, so you got us beat there here in New York. No, let's chat about the Hong Kong international races. As we talked earlier to the CEO of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, it's a fabulous event. You can watch it in the U.S. at, I believe, 11:30 Eastern is when the coverage starts this coming Saturday. 4 big races: the Sprint, the Mile, the Vase, and the Cup. The Cup being the biggest of the 4 in terms of prize money. Andrew, I want to ask about your part of the world's interest in the HKRR, but just tell me, as a layman, if I'm going to bet this card, who are some of the horses that I either should be leaning on or maybe betting against as favorites?
Sure. I think the lay of the day, or the certainty of the day, is in the Vase, and that's Romantic Warrior. He's the reigning Hong Kong Horse of the Year. He's won the race the last 2 years. He's won his last 6. He's in superb form, and he'll probably start odds on. But if you're taking a picks 4, he'd be one-odd anchor for sure. And he'll be ridden by James McDonald, the New Zealand-bred jockey, just recently announced as the Longines world's best jockey. So
wow,
that's I think he's the cert of the day. But I think the other 3 races are fairly wide open, and should produce some really good betting. I think the Sprint is probably the race that has the most impact for North America, with no balls running, the 2023 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner, and also this year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner Starlust is in the entries as well. So those 2 will obviously be involved in the finish. I think there are 2 really good Hong Kong horses running. There's a horse called California Spangle. He's a sort of a stalwart of the Hong Kong racing scene. He's a Group 1 winner from 6 furlongs to a mile. Loves to lead. So depending on barriers, you'll probably see him hearing off in front. But the new sensation in Hong Kong is another New Zealand bred, this time a horse, and Ka Ying Rising, who's won 8 from 10, broke the 1,200 metre track record at Sha Tin, which I think had been around since 2007, a couple of weeks ago. And David Hayes, who trains him, is sort of part of a training dynasty in Australia, and he thinks this could be the best horse he's ever trained. So
wow.
He's one I'm picking. If the hype's correct, he should win the Sprint.
Is it the best horse he's ever trained? Like Aidan O'Brien saying City of Troy was the best horse he ever trained, or is this for real? Is this really the best horse he's ever trained?
He's saying potentially the best horse he's ever trained, and he's trained Japan Cup winners. He's trained multiple, quite a lot of Group 1 winners in Australia, and potentially this is the best, maybe best sprinter, but possibly the best horse he's ever trained. So. He was really impressive at his last start in a Group 2 when he broke the track record. If he runs up to that, he'll be in it for sure.
Andrew, I know Joe and I talk all the time when, with Breeders' Cup races, that when they're coming up, we talk about, this is the last race that this horse is going to run before it becomes a stallion, or this is the last race that this filly is going to run before she goes into the phase ignited the stars. Is there kind of this swan song of a race that you anticipate from a horse that's then going to springboard into its breeding career that's going to make an impact?
Not really. Hong Kong racing is almost 100% geldings. So there are I think there are 9 Japanese entries on the card. There may be there may be 1 or 2 there that are sort of having their final run before they retire to stud in Japan. But generally, these races are filled with geldings. Aidan O'Brien's got he's got some fillies running that actually ran in the Breeders' Cup races as well. I think they're in the Hong Kong Cup, a couple of 3-year-old fillies. But you would think that they would train on as 4-year-olds. So it's not known to be the end of the career for a lot of horses, the Hong Kong races.
Yeah, that's foreign concept to us here in the U.S. So it's good. It's good to know and good to hear that. You're a good man because you didn't start this interview by clowning me for saying Cogburn was the fastest horse in the world. So that kind of blew up in my face.
Of course, in North America, the timing of races is done differently to most other places in the world, whereas. And down here in New Zealand and Australia and the UK, the timer starts when the gates open. So basically from the horses are stationary when the timer starts. Whereas, I think in 2 of Cogburn's last wins, he'd run 100 feet before the timer started. So he's fast, no doubt about it. No one denies that.
Another foreign concept to us.
He probably went too fast
when they open the gates.
Yeah. And Joe, actually, speaking of Cogburn, and we'll splash this up on the screen, Andrew, for our listeners and audience to look at. One of the reasons why I use the Arion website is I'll take our fillies and throw them up and do proposed matings to Cogburn, for example. And we're actually breeding 2 mares to Cogburn, one of which is a filly named Which Ways that we just bought out of the November sale. And what's great is you can see not only 4 generations back, 5 generations back, 7 generations back, Joe, if you really want to go back that far. And then you can go to a different option. And Andrew, you can explain this better than I can, but you can go to a different option. You can see all of the progeny of the entire family and what they sold for. So it's one-stop shop on this one report.
Yeah.
Which report is that, Andrew?
That's the research document. And that's a really popular report. As you say, it gives sales results. It gives trainers, basically lists every foal in the first 3 dams. So you can see if a family's running, if there are a lot of fillies, who they've been bred to and what they've produced. That's a really popular report. And it's actually one that I use in the office quite a lot.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal to get a holistic picture of the horses, not just on the racetrack, but in the sales ring too, what to expect when they sell and when they race. One other question about the international races for you. I'm curious if there are any Australian or New Zealand based horses who are shipping in, who you think have major shots that you might be, have been more privy to than the average bettor on Saturday and Sunday.
I think in the Vase, I was talking about Romantic Warrior earlier. Of course, he's in the Cup, and that's the race I meant for him. In the Vase, there's a horse called Without a Fight who won the Melbourne Cup 12 months ago or 14 months ago. And then he suffered a tendon injury. And so he was out for almost 12 months. He's had 1 run back. He ran 3rd in a Group 1 at Flemington about a month ago. But he's a really exciting horse. He's an Irish bred horse. He's been in Australia for about the last 2 years. His name, Without a Fight's his name, and I think he'll be in the Vase for a long way as well. In the mile, there's a horse called Antino. He won a Group 1 at the Melbourne Carnival as well, over a mile by 7 lengths. Another New Zealand bred, and I think he'll be in the mile for a long way. The mile, I think, is probably the most open of the races. There's a couple of really smart Japanese horses in there, and the locals also. There's a couple of locals that go all right at a mile.
Good intel. John?
Nope, that's all I got for those races. I'm actually, I'm cheating. I'm looking on the Arion Pedigrees website right now, just going through a couple of pedigrees of the horses that Andrew mentioned, and I appreciate being able to look on the site and getting just in depth, details on all the pedigrees. So thank you again, Andrew, for that, and also for renewing your trust with us and being on board with us for 2025.
No, it's great. We've found it's so valuable. The impact that you guys are having in the pod space is huge, and we're having people come to us and say, we've seen your sponsorship on Rail Talk, and that's what we want. I've said to you in the past that we've previously been sort of a local business. We've sort of stuck around in the Southern Hemisphere and done our stuff. But we think we've got the best database in the world, and so we're gonna go out there and sell it, and being involved with you guys is a great medium for doing that.
Yeah, no, it's been a great partnership, and the only thing left for John in the partnership is for you to send him one of those shirts, because those shirts are pretty slick too.
Those are sweet.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Andrew, thank you so much for the time and for the partnership and the friendship, my man. Also, we're going to bring Andrew back next week for a little recap and reaction to the Hong Kong international races. So you get more of my man, Andrew Stewart. Thank you, brother.
No worries. Great to see you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.